Let's podcast. Alongside Joe Giglio, I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Print management, document management. We will be going to the home cloud tomorrow in Fayetteville. I'm looking forward to this.
I can't wait for our maiden voyage to the NAM.
I mean, for the show. When's the last time you were in Fayetteville?
20 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been on base for kid hockey. There's a whole process to get on the base to go play in that rink, man.
Yes.
In fact, that reminds me, I have to go do that now.
Oh, no. You know what? Tom O'Brien had an event down there.
Oh, okay.
It might have been 08, 09.
So as the year comes to a close and you're looking for ways to save money on your small to medium-sized business, you need to contact our friends at Copiers Plus. Today's show is brought to you by Weller.
Weller Red.
Antique, the 107. Yesterday was brought to you by the
156.
The 124. The 124 Elijah Craig. I am fighting off. I'm trying to burn off whatever the heck is in here. So I'm polishing off this Weller today. Nothing like a little bourbon at 9:45 in the morning, Joe.
Probably the only way to explain the college football playoff committee's thinking is to drink just a little bit.
I feel like I should offer a glass to either Jim Phillips, ACC commissioner, or Carolina Hurricanes head coach Rod Brind'Amour. Who was more upset last night, Joe? Who was more pissed off?
Went to the Canes game. Was in the post game. And it was like a classic Rod. Like, there's not this big show of anger.
Yeah.
He was kind of laughing at the overturned goal call. But you could tell, like, he does not. It's not the loss. It's not the result. It's never about the result.
Of course.
They got outshot 14-2 in the second period of that hockey game last night.
2 shots.
And I'm sitting here going,
shots.
Who kidnapped the Carolina Hurricanes?
Yeah,
if I'm saying that, then the person who honors the process more than anyone else is seething this morning.
So we'll get to the Canes in a second when we take our hockey break. I do think the answer to that is push Jim Phillips versus Rod Brind'Amour. Who is more upset? They could both use a glass of bourbon, though. Let's start with the college football playoff. And this is one of those what did you expect moments when it relates to the college football playoff. I was texting with somebody, a national person yesterday, and the question simply was, when will the college football fans recognize this as a sham? And my response to that is, they're in on the sham. And look, we can use a small sample size based on what we do for a living, what we put out on social media. But let's understand that the SEC folks are going to ride for the SEC folks. The Big Ten folks are going to ride for the Big Ten folks. And they're going to massage the message any way that they want. So they're in on the sham. In fact, they want it to be more of a sham. This is why we see talk of automatic qualifiers for the SEC and the Big Ten. And I don't know if this is the college football playoff. This is where I get into conspiracy mode. I will fully admit this is when I get into conspiracy mode, where I don't know if the college football playoff committee is trying to appease this because they know the SEC and the Big Ten can change the format of the college football playoff whenever they want. And they're just trying to keep the Wolves at bay for now. Like, let's get some more data before we start making up changes after 1 year of the college football playoff, right? But I'm left with no other conclusion that I think most people should recognize by now, if you haven't already. Alabama is always going to get the benefit of the doubt. And I don't know if it's because they think it's going to be great television for Nick Saban to be talking about Alabama. Like, I got the benefit of the doubt when Nick Saban was your head coach. I don't understand the benefit of the doubt now for Alabama other than television ratings. That would be a much better matchup to see Alabama Notre Dame or something like that, right? So TV matters in these equations. I think we all recognize that. I also think too, if we want to get layered into the whole business of conspiracy theories, I wouldn't put it past the college football playoff committee to create this talking point for the week to get you invested in the conference championship games. Because remember, there has been a lot of talk about the importance of conference championship games if they have any heat to them, like an Elijah Craig 124. And now that you've set this up that, hey man, we don't know what's going to happen. There's this one last slot, a bunch of 9-3 teams and this Miami team, and who knows what happens with SMU if they lose to Clemson. That's why you got to watch on Saturday, Joe.
First of all, if I was SMU, I would not play in this football game.
Oh, you're subscribing to that?
Yep. I'm 11-1. I'm number 8. You're saying if the playoff started today, I'm in the playoff. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not playing. You're saying the only way I can not make the playoff is by playing in a game.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. I'm not playing.
Yeah.
Second of all, now, here's the deal with Alabama. Well, I'll start with the very specific and granular with the Alabama. I made this point on yesterday's program. Alabama, taking the name out, actually does have the best resume.
Whoa.
Assuming losses don't matter.
Okay.
Which has been my college basketball theory forever. It's not who you've lost to, it's who you've beaten.
But real quick, whose resume?
Alabama. If you go by strength of record, 10, strength of schedule, 17.
Yes.
Wins against their top 25, which you said from the beginning is rigged to make their point, which I don't disagree with.
Here's Reese Davis with, who's the guy?
Ward Manuel.
Ward Manuel, thank you. I couldn't remember the college
Michigan AD.
Michigan AD, thank you. So here's Ward Manuel on the broadcast last night, laying out exactly that. Our top 25. Oh, wait a minute. I need sound for this. Hold on a second.
Group. Well, Reese, it's good to be with you again. What it came down to is as we evaluated both teams and looked at how they rank, obviously we think highly of both teams. One's at 11, one's at 12. But what it really came down to is Alabama is 3-1 against current top 25 teams, and Miami is 0-1. Alabama is 6-1 against teams above 500, and Miami's 4-2. Both have had some losses that weren't what they wanted out of those games. But in the last 3 games, Miami has lost twice. And so for us, in evaluating their body of work, we felt that Alabama got the edge over Miami.
Well, the body of work is complete for Alabama, for Miami, for Ole Miss, for South Carolina. There's one more rankings to do. What could change? Could it change? Is it set?
Yes, it could change. It all depends on the outcome of these games. The commissioners have asked us to rank the top 25 through the conference championships, and that's what we intend to do.
Okay.
We have high regard, as I've said before, for those who are playing in those conference championships, and we will closely evaluate those games and the outcome of those games to rank the top 25 on Sunday.
Okay.
So that was on the ESPN broadcast last night, but our top 25. That's always important.
Yeah, so they're saying the wins over Georgia, South Carolina, and Missouri are better than anything that Miami or SMU has done. Again, if you take the Alabama name out of it and you go by what I've been saying all along, wins and who you play, rather than paying attention to those losses, which has been the default mode for college basketball for the last 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Ever since they expanded the field.
Sure.
They're always going to reward you for your wins. One thing I would say, though, about this, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky because it does seem to be incongruent. I can't make the case for Miami vis-a-vis Alabama. Okay. But here's the thing about what he just said. Miami's 6-1 against teams above 500. Well, that means they're 3-2 against teams below 500.
That's a problem.
Like,
yeah.
If you're taking the full picture, if you're taking it in and judging it by the full picture, well, what you do against bad teams should matter too. Miami, obviously, in this case, would that's their one leg that they can stand on, that they've taken care of more of their business in more games than Alabama has. But I think Miami's real beef, and I think the ACC's real beef, is with the Big Ten and is with Notre Dame. But we want to talk about your top 25. Notre Dame's 1-0 against their top. You know the one team who they beat? You know the one team who they beat in their top 25? Army, right. Have you watched? Not you, but like anyone. I've watched one game of Army and one game of Navy this year.
I haven't watched.
Guys, this is not the Make-A-Wish Foundation. You can't put teams in your top 25 because you want to feel warm and fuzzy about America. Army is not one of the best 25 teams in the country. Then you're going to justify it by saying, well, Notre Dame beat Army, right?
That's where we get
Notre Dame. Indiana's 0-1. The best thing on Indiana's resume is a loss.
Yes.
If you go by what they're saying, right? Penn State 1-1. Their win was over Illinois at home,
but they're
in the whiteout game.
So the Big Ten and the SEC essentially put their teams in bubble wrap. I mean, that's what it is. That the brand essentially creates a bubble wrap for these squads.
But the committee is rewarding Notre Dame, Indiana, and Penn State for beating bad teams. They're not rewarding Miami for beating bad teams. That's where, if I'm Jim Phillips, I have an issue. Now, you got to have also the Real Talk Express with Miami.
Yeah.
You have the best offense in the country?
Yeah.
And you can't win football games?
Here's the problem with that.
Come on.
No. I'm with you.
Come on.
I want to be abundantly clear here, man. I'm with you on that because the simple solution to that is don't lose to Syracuse, man. Or don't lose to Georgia Tech.
I think they have 2 good losses. I have no problems with their losses.
But again, we're getting into the problem.
You have to win the games that are in front of you.
We're getting into the problem, though. When we start to talk about, and this would be, and look, real quick, credit to Jim Phillips, commissioner of the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, I banged on this table in this studio that you got to go out there and fight for the league. And he was not exactly doing that. He thought that a statement through an email would be enough. Now you got to make yourself visible. You got to show up. You got to be on TV. You got to do radio interviews. You got to do all that kind of stuff, right? To his credit, he is doing that this year. And I don't know if it's too little too late or my worst case scenario, my sinking feeling, the cynical side of me says, it doesn't really matter if Jim Phillips goes out there and he argues, because you're illustrating the problem with the College Football Playoff Committee. You're illustrating the problem with this idea or this myth that there's a power 4. There is not a power 4. There is a power 2. Because all the arguments that you're making for Miami would work if we applied the same logic to all these other teams, but we don't. We see the brand that they're associated with, and then suddenly we start changing our arguments. If Miami was in the SEC, how do you think we'd be talking about it?
There'd be no question.
The Florida win goes from, Florida wasn't good at that time, blah, 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 to, hey, man, look how Florida closed out the year. Okay, that's actually a sneaky.
Florida is actually legitimately one of the best 25 teams in the country.
I agree, but they're not going to give Miami credit because they'll massage it to be what was the beginning of the season, this and that, right? But if they played now, I bet you Florida would win. Like, that's how they argue these things. Alabama losing to Vanderbilt turns from, hey, man, how the hell is Alabama losing to freaking Vanderbilt? How the hell did you play Oklahoma, who's been, they almost fired their coach, if we're being real about it this year. But
they would have if it was cost prohibitive.
Reasons, okay? All these things are in play. And you lost to that Oklahoma team, man? Like, what the hell's wrong with you? But no, it's Alabama, so you're going to get over on that. Indiana, as to your point, who the hell have they beaten this year? They haven't beaten anybody. But they've got the bubble wrap. And not to go full Colin Cowherd on you, it reminds me a lot of Apple. It literally reminds me of Apple. As an Apple user, I understand I am paying a premium. They get away with products that might not be as up to snuff as other products. But I'm an Apple guy, man. I'm going to ride for Apple. Yeah, Android people, I understand that feature was on your phone 5 years ago. Cool. It's now on my Apple iPhone. I don't care. And that's the attitude that people take with the Big Ten. Hey, but what about this? But what about this? Doesn't matter. It's the Big Ten. It's the brand. Look at the people that we bring to the stadiums. Look at the eyeballs that we bring. Same with the SEC. So at this point, let's just strip the bullshit and let's just get to the automatic qualifiers. And Jim Phillips needs to make the best deal he can for the ACC, whether it's expanding out to 14 so that the SEC and the Big Ten get 4 apiece, and the ACC and the Big Ten and the Big 12 get 3 or 2 or whatever it is. You might as well take it, because you brought up SMU, right? Let's get back to SMU and the whole playing thing. And that'll lead us to Clemson. Maybe I was a week off on the Clemson thing. Clemson and SMU can play a really, really tight game, a really competitive game, showing you they're both valid for the college football playoff. But if Clemson wins, do you really think that SMU is going to get in?
Looking at their rankings right now, they have SMU at number 8. They have Alabama at number 11.
Yeah.
So you're saying to me on December 4th, you think SMU is a better football team with a better resume than Alabama? That's what you're saying to me.
Mm-hmm.
So how would Alabama be moved ahead of SMU after the result of the ACC championship game? That's the one I'm trying to figure out. But what appeal does SMU have?
None.
Zero. So it's a made-for-TV product. It's important that Notre Dame is at number 4, because then they become the 5th seed. Remember, the Notre Dame, air quotes, compromise was that they could never be one of the top 4 seeds as long as they don't join a conference. So they're sitting there at number 5.
Yeah.
Buddy, this thing's getting cooked from the jump for that 12 seed.
Yeah.
To be a brand name. So it's Notre Dame versus Alabama in that very first game. The very first college football playoff game is going to be Notre freaking Dame against Alabama.
Watch the ratings go up.
And guess who wants that? Every single person who's trying to make money off of this. So SMU, man, the dice were loaded from the start. You already knew this.
And so the point about everything being made for television and the way the rankings were set up last night to get the people talking, I mean, clearly we're talking about today. Yeah. David Hale does an entire piece on ESPN about the anger index. So we understand that this thing is engineered to get people to talk. And what do you
should really be mad at the Big 12, Joe?
Nobody cares about the Big 12.
I understand.
That's the funny thing.
I understand that. By the way, they got Boise State at number 10. You talk about, again, you called this from all of your years of radio of doing these rankings. You said the bottom of the top 25 is more interesting than the top because they put teams in the bottom to manipulate how they talk about the teams at the top.
Yes.
Well, look at number 20. There's UNLV. Why is UNLV at number 20 with 2 losses?
To make somebody look good.
Oh, could it be to make Boise look good?
Mm-hmm.
This is where I'm getting at with this Big 12 stuff. Arizona State's like totally and completely legit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this sounds crazy, but in a year where there's no monster, believe it or not, I think Arizona State can win 4 football games and win the national championship.
Sure they can.
Like that, you can't say that in many years. And here they have them at 15. Like, why?
Because it gets the people going. Look, Rick Hart, the AD at SMU, is beefing with Jamie Pollard, the Iowa State AD, on Twitter. Okay.
Iowa State also being wrong.
Right. So, Jamie Pollard, disappointed the strength of schedule clearly does not matter for SMU, Indiana, and Boise State. Message is clear. Win as many games as possible, regardless of who you play. That's incorrect. Win as many games as possible, regardless of who you play, only applies to Big Ten teams and SEC teams. It does not apply to you, Jamie. It does not apply to Rick Hart, look, bless him, man. I get what he's doing. He goes, Jamie, respect your bad take. Respect you, but bad take. Iowa State had, was it North Dakota, Iowa, Arkansas State in the non-con. SMU had Nevada. Is that Houston Christian? Yeah, Houston Christian. I wouldn't be Rick, Bubby. I would just take, you need an editor. You want to give me Nevada, TCU, BYU? Cool. Throw in HCU. I had to go look that up. HCU. Who the hell is HCU?
They beat him pretty good, though.
Houston Christian?
Hey, man, it was good for their net.
Oh, okay, sure.
Beat him by 52.
And I get it. He's like scrambling through the Vanderbilt game, dropping us, blah, 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 blah. SMU is 1 of 2 to win all conference games. That's a good point.
Yeah.
1 of 3 to win 9 P4 games. That's a really good point. Trailed by a total of 6+ minutes. Last 9 games. I could go on. Stay off my lawn with the crying, laughy face emoji. But the point is, all this stuff is engineered to get you hyped up. That's what it's about. They're creating a television product. And the sooner you get that, the sooner you'll accept it. And the idea that people at some point are going to reject it, watch the ratings.
Yeah.
Watch the ratings. People do not give a shit about fairness when it comes to this thing, man. They want to see Alabama, Notre Dame. They don't want to see SMU in the freaking college football playoff.
Especially in a year like this where it is so wide open.
Yes, absolutely wide open. Absolutely wide open. All right, back to Clemson real quick. Maybe I was a week early. I said that the South Carolina game was going to be the FU, we're still Clemson game. Oh, no, dude. Have you seen this presser? This is from our guy, Chapel Fowler, who covers the Clemson Tigers. Dabo was in his bag, buddy. No, in his freaking bag.
Like, why not? I mean, it's just football. We got a bunch of good football players. All you got to do is win the game you're playing. Why not? I mean, somebody's going to win it, and we're fortunate enough to win this game. You get a ticket to Willy Wonka's factory, right? You get to go, on the magic elevator, and you get to be in the tournament. And so if we're fortunate to win this game and get that opportunity, anything can happen. Anything can happen. I think we were the first 15-0 team, national championship team. Maybe we could be the first 3-loss team.
Look at Dabo.
First of all, he's got his David Tepper super cash, business cash
I saw
logoed shirt, so that's a minus point. Plus points for the Will Ferrell, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let the boy watch. Like, what? Where did that accent come from? My goodness. No. It's time for our weekly random school in Texas gets a lecture from Joe Giglio. Are you ready?
Okay.
SMU. Poor SMU.
Okay.
Yes, I know you got lots of money, but poor SMU, you don't know what's coming because this is a classic. Hey, fuck you. We're still Clemson game. That's what's going to happen. Here's the list of teams Clemson has played.
Move that. There we go.
Here's the list of teams Clemson has played in the ACC championship game. You'll note there's 6 teams on there.
Mm-hmm.
You'll note there's one that's not even a member of the ACC on there.
That's right.
Wild, right?
Yeah.
Now, let me give you the list of teams that have beaten Clemson in Charlotte in the ACC championship game. Whoa, let me make sure I get it.
Yeah, no.
Oh, there's the list.
Nope.
Nope. Weird. So, SMU, thank you for playing. Thank you for coming to the ACC. Thank you for not taking any of our money and just winning the games and making us all look stupid. However, Dabo's got one little present for you on Saturday.
I tell you what, man, if SMU's mad about this, they're already in a conference without taking any of the television money. Maybe they can just talk to the SEC and say, what if we paid you $100 million? Maybe that'll work.
Next step.
Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hill.
Big thanks to Happy and Hill. I hit Happy and Hill North Hills yesterday. I got my Bueno Bowl with the spring mix. Always hits. I love that like tomatillo.
Wait a second.
Salsa dressing on top.
You typically don't get the mix with the rice?
I don't do the rice.
So you just get the mix.
I get the salad mix to go with the main ingredients.
I do both.
Oh, you do both?
Yeah.
You see, if I do salad, it's gonna be like nap time sometimes. You know? I don't know, man. Rice
tryptophan.
I know, but rice kind of slows me down from time to time, man.
Okay.
Plus, like I said, it's roughage season.
Well, you get to feel better.
It's roughage
Good
season
way to
after
feel better.
Thanksgiving. If I needed something a little heartier, as cold as it is, then I would probably go with the rice, right? But yesterday I went Bueno Bowl with the salad. It's always fantastic. So check out Happy and Hail. Download the app to make it super, super easy for you to grab and go from their various locations. And we thank them for being a corporate champion. And let's get to our hockey break, where, as you mentioned earlier, we had a classic Rod. Not what's he gonna say, right? Like what's he gonna say? And I guess the big takeaway from yesterday was the goalie interference. Real quick though, Canes didn't play great yesterday. Straight up, did not play great yesterday, but they still had a chance to win this game because they got some dudes making plays. Your best players stepping up and making plays. Marty Natchez making a play. And then you've got Jack Drury, who had an incredible freaking goal. Incredible
Almost
goal.
Basically from the goal line. Like it was as sharp as a sharp angle gets.
Dude, I don't know how that thing went in, but it did. But Kraken goalie Joey Decord was nudged by Eric Robinson outside the crease.
Actually, the Seattle defender pushed
him in. This is how it was portrayed. So Robinson nudges Decord. He gets back to his right side. Looked like he was in position. Drury rips a shot. It goes in. They go to the replay for goalie interference. Turns out it was goalie interference. This, of course, uncorks Rod, who wanted to point out that this is very much like the NFL's what is a catch? In the NHL is what is goalie interference? And Rod wanted to let you know that when it comes to these 50-50 calls, they're not quite 50-50 when it comes to the Carolina Hurricanes.
I mean, what do you say? I mean, I would have loved it to go our way. The explanation was for sometimes they call it that way, sometimes they don't. He said they decided we had enough contact on the goalie that he couldn't play his position. Doesn't matter that he's not in the paint. You kind of assume he has to be in the paint, but and he did say it's 50-50. They just kind of thought there was enough that he couldn't play the position. So whatever. We lose a lot of those.
Are you shocked that the call came back so quickly for something that's so close?
No. Just look at the history of the goalie interferences with this team. Just look at them.
Rod, were you saying that the officials told you that they thought it was 50-50?
He said it was. He was really good about it. Because I came home, he said, "I remember one time last year, you had one where the goalie's head was out just outside the blue paint, and there was contact, and we call it a good goal because it wasn't enough." I don't know. We all know this goalie interference thing is very subjective, I guess, and we just seem to always end up on the wrong end of them. And that's what's a little bit frustrating.
Thank you.
Yeah, to paint a clearer picture from what actually happened, This wasn't like somebody took a run at their goalie and the shot came like a split second later and there was a goal. It was Robinson was being pushed by the Seattle defender, made contact with the cord who was not in the crease. So it was kind of like, well, okay. And then like a full like 2 or 3 beats later, Drury attempts the shot.
Yeah.
So it seemed like one of those where you're like, even when they went to the review, I was like, I'm not even sure what they're doing. And then I saw the TV that they were like, oh, they're checking to see if Robinson had interfered. And I'm like, well, does intent matter? Like, does timing matter? Does being in the crease matter? And I think that's where you get some of Rod's like, man, Rod really is a State fan. Like you hear it right there, man.
See, that's the part. So,
oh no, go back and look.
there's a lot of NC State.
Love it. I love
the Carolina
Hurricanes.
Energy. And Rod has been here for a long time. He is honorary Wolf blood. He married into the Wolf blood. We get all that stuff. I tell you what, man. John out here.
Bettman.
What are we talking? Wait, oh no, Bettman. I meant Bettman. That's what I meant. So
there was that.
I mean, right down to ESPN not even liking you.
Sure.
Right.
Now,
so
there is that part of it. Now, again, to paint a clearer picture, Seattle is up 1-0. They scored 19 seconds into the game. On the guy broke through, split their defense, made a nice shot, right? But obviously, Kochetkov comes back, and you're like, well, hopefully he solves your goalie problems, right?
Well, Kochek, to his credit, he was correct when he said, I'm back, motherfuckers, because last night he truly was back because he had some of those situations like,
all we were missing was the walkabout.
Coach, no. I'm not saying he had a bad game, but he had those aggressive moments that cost them.
So he got better. Kochetkov got better as the game went along.
Yes.
Canes tied up, and then it's 2-1 after Seattle had scored in the second period. And really in that second period, there was 2 penalties on the Canes, no penalties, no power plays for the Canes. It's 14-2. Like Seattle was giving the Canes a full taste of their own medicine.
Yes.
Right? Like nothing the Canes were doing. They looked a little listless too. Third period, they played better. To your point, they get a power play goal from Marty Danches, which was like, put it on a postcard. It was beautiful.
Typical.
Right? Like
it's typical what we've seen so far this season.
Yeah, totally and completely beautiful goal. Now it's 2-2, and I'm there for the AP last night. And if you're familiar with the writing process, sometimes you have to write 2 different stories. One, Canes win. One, Kraken win. Right? So, but I had Kraken 1 done, written, story done, ready to send because you have to send at the buzzer. Now all of a sudden, Nature scores, and I'm like, oh shit. I got to change this. So you have to create a whole new file. You got to create a whole separate story to write.
This is what took you forever to respond to my tell me something good.
Exactly, because it happened like right. And then you have the Drury goal, and I'm like, damn, that was even more gorgeous than Nature's. And then here comes the review, and then I was like, oh, I know what's going to happen now. 50 seconds later, Seattle gets a break. They go down, score the goal. They go up 3-2. Obviously, they win the game 4-2. So it was like one of those times, and you're going to play another clip from Rod where it was like almost like you hear in his voice, he's like almost slightly amused by the interference call.
Because what are you going to do at this point?
But this is now 3 straight losses. And the first 2 periods, they just didn't play like a team that had the urgency that you would expect from them and didn't have that lift that you would expect from getting Kochetkov back.
Not only the lift that you would get from getting Kochetkov back, also you just got it handed to you by the Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
So the whole we got to look ourselves in the mirror type thing. We've seen this before. Like there's a beat to this. There's a pattern to this. Jordan Stahl's going to say something in the locker room and he's going to question the manhood and all this other stuff. In fact, this clip from Rod, he gets to a point where somebody asked, I think it was Evan from News 14, asked him about the line changes. And I swear I heard Jacob's coach speak, which kind of tells you there's really not that much difference between 13-year-olds and 20-somethings in this particular case.
Well, first of all, they played a good game. You have to give them credit. So let's not take that away. But we stunk. So, you gotta, our top guys got to come, and that includes everybody. There's a lot of top players here that were not good tonight. And, if we're going to win, we have to have those guys being top guys. They got to look the part, and it just hasn't been there.
Is it a matter of just switching up the lines, or is it?
Well, I've done that, so that's not the answer. I tried that over and over and over, and that's just clearly not going to do anything. So, yeah, we got to look in the mirror and you got to do your job. When you're out there, you got to do your job. And we're going to turn the page tomorrow. We're going to go over it. And then, like I said, whether you won 3 or lose 3, and it makes no difference going into that next game. We got to win that one. So, we'll like I said, come back tomorrow. We'll get better, and then it's all this stuff you got to forget about.
Takes notes, jots down. First period Canes Thursday against Colorado.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We shall see what happens.
Takes notes, jots down.
It's also December 4th.
Well,
it's fine.
But again, for Rod, it truly is about the process.
I understand.
So for him, yeah, again, I sensed some slight amusement or bemusement from the call. Whereas those first 2 periods, the second period was like an out-of-body experience.
When I say it's December 4th and you say it's part of the process, Rod by now knows that this is also part of the Canes process. Sure. They got off to an incredible start. It's one of those things that it kind of put, as we talked about in the early portion of the season, it put to rest any sort of off-season talk about the construction of this team and how things had paid off. Now they're going through a little bit of a lull. And they'll probably, maybe they need to go back on the road. I mean, this is what their longest home streak they got all season, right? So I'm sure the narrative will say, it's good to get away. It's good to get away. That kind of stuff. Tell me you've been watching this team for a long time without telling me you've been watching this team for a long time. It's December 4th. It's all good.
Housekeeping.
Big thanks to Enovana. Check them out online at enovana.com. Green Cleaning Solutions.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your get it clean with Enovana.
You can give the gift of Enovana. Go to the website and you can do a one-time cleaning for somebody in your life. They would greatly appreciate that. Speaking of gifts, we have all sorts of gift giving. You can give the gift of the OG. Go to breakingt.com/OG. You can find something for yourself or for the OG fan in your life. A hoodie, a t-shirt. We got all sorts of stuff that's OG branded on breakingt.com/OG. You can give the gift of the Basketball Jones. We got Bomani Jones and friends. I know that Tyler Hansbrough is going to be there. Marcus Ginyard's going to be there. We're going to be there. Lavelle Moten, penciled in. It's going to be a good time on January 31st at the Rialto. Go to therialto.com to get your tickets today. Buy some tickets for yourself. And of course, you can buy some tickets for somebody in your life. And because today is officially Spotify Wrapped season.
Oh, our favorite. I like when people do this.
Today is the first day of Spotify Wrapped season. So here's what we're going to do. I've already seen some people who have promoted the fact that we are in their top 5 podcasts. We appreciate that. We truly do. So here's what we're going to do to encourage you to promote the fact that we are in your Spotify Wrapped. Tag us on Instagram. You can do an Instagram story, tag us so I can see it and I can screen grab it and put you into the pool.
Okay.
If you want to take a screen grab and put it on social media like Twitter or Blue Sky or Threads, cool. Just make sure you tag me or you tag OG Triangle Media or you tag Giglio. We'll screen grab it. We'll note it. And then all the entries will have a little breakingt.com/OG gift package for you.
Oh, nice.
So we want to reward you for rewarding us with your Spotify Wrapped season. So go check that out. Treat yourself at Two Roosters. This has been an opportune time to go to Two Roosters at the arena and just go slaving Sunday on them. Or as Giglio is having a moment where he's vigorously taking it back. No. We don't want to do that in Two Roosters. So go to tworoosters.com to find their flavors.
Well, there's different ways to do that.
What is that? What are you hyped up about with that?
That's that one? The raspberry almond.
Ooh,
Joe,
that looks good.
Joe, hello, a beautiful. I have my new love.
You always every month you have a new love.
Can you see that raspberry? Can you just see
that swirl's good? That's a good looking swirl.
That's not manufactured, sir. That's hand mixed in there.
Hey man, keep this up and you're gonna have to go to roback.com and use these promo codes in Black Friday sales to size up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
oh, that's fine.
I had to go. It was December. They were open yesterday. I had to go.
Okay. I'll be going. Go to roback.com. Speaking of going places, go to roback.com to get one of the most comfortable polos you will ever have in your arsenal. We've had this from last year where people will get the Roback as like a Father's Day gift. And they're like, my grandfather loves this polo. So give the gift to Roback. Go to roback.com, RHOBACK.com. You can use that promo code OG20.
You need to.
Oh, now we're back.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
back in OG protocols.
Okay.
Use OG20. Save that 20%. Best golf stuff there possibly is. Hoodies are super comfortable. Pants, all kinds of clothing for women as well. So it's a one-stop shop for you.
Speaking of saving money, you can save money with our friend Matt Davis over at State Farm. InsureGarner.com, theoginsurance.com, or call them directly at 919-779-8277. Use those savings to buy more stuff from other corporate champions. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
But the best thing you have to do is have a conversation. 919-779-8277. Maybe you could save on home. Maybe you could save on auto. And maybe you don't know until you have that talk.
And maybe what you do with that money is you get yourself a little holiday party catered by Longleaf Swine. That's what you do. Go to longleafswine.com. Look, I know it's cold out right now, but they got the curtains down and they got the heaters. So it makes for a really nice spot, and the barbecue's fantastic. So go to longleafswine.com. You can get sides, you can get things catered, you can get all sorts of stuff to go.
Get that Red Weller.
You can, because I'm out of it now.
Yeah.
And so you can go to longleafswine.com. I feel like the Red Weller is actually hitting me a little stronger than the Elijah Craig was.
I can drink Weller now. That's one of the ones I can drink.
It also could be the fact that I didn't have breakfast, but that's another story altogether. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline from The Athletic, he is Brendan Marks. Brendan, what's going on, man?
Not too much. Appreciate you guys having me.
I asked at the beginning of this podcast, who's more upset this evening or yesterday evening, Jim Phillips, ACC commissioner, or Rod Brind'Amour, head coach of the Carolina Hurricanes. But then I forgot, we're so wrapped up in the college football playoff rankings, I forgot that the ACC SEC basketball challenge started last night. And hey, man, Clemson, Kentucky, baby. Clemson taking care of business at home against the 4th-ranked team in the country. I love to see that.
That was the only game.
That was it. That was the kickoff.
Didn't see any others. Didn't see a single other one. No.
Was it?
I mean, yeah, it's I feel for Jim Phillips right now. Let's the bar card is open at home.
Whew, ACC hospitality every week in Charlotte, man. That's what we need. What we need.
And look, like this, have we not been talking about this since July? Like this was the week. This was the time for the ACC to reverse the narrative. And we talked so much about the middle class and Louisville and. No. I think the worst part about it last night when I was looking at the scores, there were a lot of blowouts. And I know that Brad Brownell's trying to do a solid for the ACC last night after they beat Kentucky, and looking at the other results and saying, look, man, a lot of these teams aren't at 100% in the ACC. But nobody's going to remember that. They're only going to see 20-point blowout. They're only going to see 15 points. They're going to see a close, nobody's paying attention to Cal playing basketball, right? So I hate that we're here already, but it really is a repeat of last season for the ACC. Hello, old friend. Come back on in. I mean, it is just sinking into the narrative even further. And I was talking to a couple of friends about this last night as everything was turning to ash around the ACC. Who's the ACC's best win this year? I mean, is it Duke on the road versus unranked 3-4 Arizona? North Carolina hasn't beaten a high major team. Pitt beat Ohio State in overtime on a buzzer beater. I mean, now it is Clemson beating Kentucky at home. But before that, what was it? There really isn't that signature win. And it's not like, your top programs haven't been delivering those. Your middle tier hasn't delivered those.
It's bad.
It's not one bid ACC, but one hand ACC, possibly.
But you know what? It doesn't matter because the ACC always accomplishes greatness in March.
Accomplish greatness. And look, I still think, I was listening to you guys the other day. I agree with you about Duke. I think Duke is going to be fine in the long term, regardless of what happens versus Auburn. I think Auburn probably wins that game. I don't think it's a great matchup for Duke. Mm-hmm. I think in the long run, Duke is going to be fine. All the talent is there. I think Pitt is probably still a tournament team. Clemson looks like a tournament team. North Carolina can score and get scored on by anybody in the country. I think they're a tournament team. But other than Duke, this league just, again, does not have anybody who can compete with the best of the best in the country. And so far, even Duke hasn't been able to do that.
Let's actually start with North Carolina before we get to Duke. Even though I want to SEO this bad boy. Cooper flag, right? I have been curious about North Carolina on two fronts. What is a bigger issue, or am I missing the point here and that they're actually tied together? Defensively, this is a Carolina team that is average so far based on what we've seen, but they actually have guys who can put up, they can get buckets. They still have RJ Davis, right? You're going to get buckets. So is it a defensive issue, or is it a size issue, or are those two intertwined right now? Because that's the other issue that Carolina is going to face once we get into league play and obviously the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, no, I think they are absolutely combined. And as much as I see UNC fans in my mentions ragging on Hubert Davis for not signing, insert and whatever big man in the offseason, North Carolina is starting 3 sub 6'3" guards.
Mm-hmm.
They are one of the worst defensive teams in terms of defending spot up shooting in the nation. They are regularly out of rotation. That's something Hubert Davis can fix. People shooting over the top of RJ Davis and Elliot Cadeau is not something he can fix. So as much as people want to belabor UNC's lack of size on the inside, and again, that is a real problem. The fact that all of this team's 5 best players are 6'6" or shorter. That is the inherent problem with North Carolina. Even if you have a Drake Powell in there at the 4, which I think is a ripcord that Hubert Davis is going to pull sooner rather than later, you don't have the bigs to give you rim protection that you need. You don't have the size in your backcourt to defend on the perimeter like you need, which means you're going to be living in the 80s all season, which is a really, really, really hard way to make a living. At that scene. North Carolina is like top 10 nationally in scoring, and it's also like bottom 25 in points allowed. This is something that's going to be an issue all season long. Hubert Davis can toy with his schemes. I think he is going to embrace small ball as much as possible and go with, maybe Jalen Withers at some 5, Drake Powell at some 4. But when all of your 5 best players are 6'6" and shorter, inherently, you are going to get bullied by bigger, older, stronger teams. That's what we've seen so far in the 3 high major games they've played. I would expect Alabama is going to be more of the same. Cliff Amore says hello from the transfer portal. And it's something that, again, this team is offensively gifted enough to win 25-ish games and make the tournament. But again, when one of a Kansas or a Auburn shows up on your schedule in the NCAA tournament, or when you go up against Duke with the size that Duke has, Carolina's 5 best players are all 6'6" and shorter. Duke doesn't have a guy under 6'5". It's a hilarious comparison, and that's something that Hubert Davis can't do anything about.
I have both my Carolina and Duke hats on tonight. I think they're both going to win, and this is something that we've talked about. Now, first of all, Alabama's banged up.
They are.
But second of all, this is something we've learned the last couple of years. You just have to pay attention sometimes.
Okay.
Not saying that we haven't. It's just one of those reminders because we're in particular caught up in football mode. Very often, the team that goes away, I remember specifically the Phil Knight Invitational. Every team that played on the road in the ACC Big Ten Challenge that was in that Phil Knight thing lost. Every team that played on the road after playing away. So the home team has a significant advantage in these games. Auburn was in Hawaii. Duke's been at home, already had Seattle here to knock some of the rust off. You're going to see Duke's fucking fastball tonight. I don't know what it is, but you're going to fucking see it. Okay. Carolina, Alabama's banged up. I'm with you. But Alabama ain't going to get into a half-court game with Carolina. Now we're getting back into, you want to run with Roy? Okay. You take that at your own risk, man. Now Hubert's got to prove that, right? I mean, I think Hubert's got to prove that. But I like them both tonight. The real mistake here yesterday was, I know Paul Brazo. I know how these matchups work. Or at least I did with the Big Ten. Was, hey, man, here's what we think of NC State this year. You always knew what they thought of them by their opponent. When they played Indiana, Michigan State, or Purdue, it was like, oh, shit, we think State's going to be good this year. Mm-hmm. When they played Penn State, like the 8th fucking time over at the Lenovo Center, you were like, oh, the league thinks State sucks.
Right.
So
shout out to Evan Seacat. Let's go.
So the real problem for me was the league, and I'll put this on Braz. You got my favorite coach going against my least favorite coach. You got Steve Forbes going down to play against Buzz.
44 points.
Who's beating Buzz?
44 points.
Who's beating Buzz? You got to finesse that a little bit, right? You got to finesse that a little bit. The other one, Beard and Buzz are 1-2. If we gave the truth serum to every one of those coaches who all hated Roy for all of those years, they would put Buzz and Beard very, very high on the list of X and O people. So now you have a Louisville team that's banged up, who I do think Wake and Louisville have the potential to be NCAA tournament teams.
Yeah.
You set them up for failure in these two games. So,
and especially for Louisville, this is now your second time you've got this marquee home game.
Yeah. The Tennessee one was,
and both times you get run out of the gym. And again, I understand they're banged up. I thought Kason Pryor was their best player, so losing him for the year sucks.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I mean, I think Louisville and NC State, or Louisville and Wake Forest, have that potential. Maybe NC State, but I mean, if they could shoot or grab a rebound, that would be nice.
Kind of sort of have to have something tonight. I mean, it's getting late early on that one, unless you want to put yourself back in the situation. Like, no big deal. We'll win 5 games for 5
days. Yeah, we've been there, done that.
Formula. We got the template.
The one that I think can perception-wise help the ACC a lot tonight is North Carolina. And I agree with you that I think UNC can win this game because Alabama, I think a lot of people saw Alabama last year and thought, oh, yeah, Alabama, they're just going to shoot 45% from 3 every game and score 100 points. Alabama's offense last year was not just one of the best offenses in college basketball. It was one of the best offenses in the last 20, 25 years of college basketball in terms of scoring and efficiency. This is not that Alabama. This Alabama team, once again, has sunken back into we can't defend.
Yeah.
This game is take the over, whatever it is. It could be 106. Is it 174?
Yes.
I might still take it. I might still take it. Honestly, both of these teams score in the 80s. Like
somebody's got to get to 90 to get to 174.
And I think North Carolina can put up points. I think, and again, like you saw it a little bit in Hawaii. I think Drake Powell is coming for North Carolina. And I heard you guys the other day and I agreed, like for North Carolina to be what it thinks it can be this year, it's not going to be your 5th year journeyman stretch 4 who's erratic, who lifts your ceiling. It's going to be the 5-star guy who can grab the ball out of the air and block it like Zion used to. And I think that is coming sooner rather than later. We started to see it in Hawaii. Maybe tonight's the night that Hubert fully pulls that, but it's coming.
Of course, the difference between Hubert and John Shire is that John knew that going into the season, and everything has been engineered by Duke and John Shire to get this team ready to go when it matters. And we'll see how things kind of get turned on by the time we get to January, right? Whereas Hubert, I think, is still trying to do this in a way that, makes sense for him, made sense for Roy, made sense for Carolina, but might not necessarily make sense for where college basketball is right now. You got to pick your lane, right? Either you're going to be an old ass team like Kansas, or you're going to be super young and talented like Duke. Excuse me. And I feel like Carolina's trying to play it in the middle. And I don't know if that's necessarily going to pay off they're going to be good in the ACC. They're going to make the NCAA tournament. But in terms of what the standard is, as we all know at Carolina, as Joe likes to say, the standard is the standard of Carolina. It ain't about being good in the regular season in the ACC. That's not what that's about, right? And I'll give John Shire and Duke credit. This has been the slow build to, all right, this is where we break through. This is what the new era of Duke is going to be. And all eggs are in the basket for a guy who's about to turn 18. And so far,
and please hurry up and turn 18
I know,
so I can stop
hearing the 17th.
Hearing the nonsense. Here's all these 17s.
Dude, you understand.
Oh my God, he's going to cure cancer.
You understand how weird that is for you and me to have kids who would be buddies with him his senior year.
James is older than him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, James is
That's wild. That's wild.
I'm talking about Jackson and Caleb.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Jackson's going to be 17 in 2 months.
And Caleb's going to to be 17 in April. And it's like, oh, you'd be buddies with this dude in high school if, last year, right? Anyway, so that's the thing. I get that part about it. But are people finally starting to get it with Cooper Flagg? Of what he is, who he is? Are they getting it? I know this is when Joe likes to take his victory lap. Are people getting it now?
I mean, he is such a fascinating everything. And I mean, how many things do you guys say makes people stupid?
A lot of things make people stupid.
Cam Newton still the
all. Cam Newton is the ultimate one
to this day.
I think to some extent Cooper Flagg makes people stupid.
Yeah.
he has been currently against multiple top 10 teams. Cooper Flagg is leading Duke in the following: points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks.
But Brendan, the last 90 seconds of that Kentucky game.
But the last 90 seconds, a 17-year-old was asked to once again put an entire team of 5 stars on his back. Here's my thing with Cooper. Like, so much of this hype and this talk, and like everybody I think is viewing this still through the Zion lens.
Yes.
And I think that's something that he's going to be dealing with through March or April, whenever Duke's season inevitably ends. If they win the national title, or if they flame out in the Sweet 16, it's all going to be viewed through Zion did this. Can you do this too? He's not Zion. He's much more well-rounded than Zion, but he's not the athletic freak. He's not. When he yams on people, yeah, ESPN drools all over itself, but that's not his game. He's not putting people in a blender. He's not this physical freak. He's just a really solid, smart, well-rounded player. And I think for Duke, he has been at everything that Jon Scheyer could have possibly asked him to be. Nothing in the first month of the season has done anything to invalidate Scheyer's roster building philosophy this offseason or his schedule building philosophy this offseason. All of it. I mean, would you have liked to have won the Kentucky game? Yeah. Would you have liked to won the Kansas game? Yeah. Duke is following the trajectory he wants it to, regardless of the outcome of those games. And Cooper has been such an integral part of that. I do think he makes people stupid. I think that tonight is a really tough. I mean, this is the epitome of like what we want now, right? Tonight.
Yeah.
Number 1 freshman versus the number 1 player in the country in Janai Broome. Super old versus super young. You know, the blue blood versus the not blue blood. Scheyer versus Pearl. I mean, what a comparison and contrast that is. Like,
yeah.
It is the ultimate 2 sides of the coin. And, you know, I think if, regardless of what happens tonight, like, I wouldn't want to be playing Duke in March. That was my philosophy 3 months ago. Nothing in the first month or 2 of the season has changed that.
Yeah. Luckily, Joe is going tonight and not me. I showed tremendous restraint in Charlotte when I did not go up to Isaiah McNeely and ask him if he got his ACC championship ring yet from NC State. I showed tremendous restraint.
His Wolfpack Unlimited award.
Luckily, I will not be in Cameron tonight, because if I were, I probably would fucking punch Bruce Pearl. You lost to Virginia? Motherfucker. I got to listen to Virginia fans the rest of my life because you couldn't beat them? Thanks, asshole. Thanks.
Actually, I don't think we're going to be hearing from Virginia fans anytime soon.
No, but they still have that one trump card for the rest of their lives.
I get that, but right now they're kind of laying low. They're laying low.
Man,
right
you can always pull that one out of your back pocket.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
It's always
That's
a
fine.
nice one to have.
Yes.
And there's an Auburn fan, or Bruce Pearl probably would say to me, that was a travel.
Although
It was.
to crystallize the point that Cooper Flagg is not Zion, if you wanted to go to the Duke game tonight, you'd probably not have a problem getting a seat.
Right. As opposed to that year where
I mean,
fever.
It was a fever dream the entire time, man. A fever
I mean,
dream the entire time.
I mean, you guys know this, but like that ACC championship run, and when Zion finally played against North Carolina in the semifinals in Charlotte that year, before the Final Four matchup in 22, was the best Duke Carolina game I'd ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Well,
there's a whole podcast project about that year.
This is Joe's.
That year was that was it, man.
His whole thesis is that was the last year of the ACC as we know it. That was it.
Roy, Kay, Zion.
You should have Tony Bennett write the foreword for that.
Yeah, they won the championship date with the we beat Auburn.
Yeah, although that would require Tony Bennett, his handler, actually being nice to us, but that would be another matter altogether.
We'll get Josh Graham on it, the Whisperer.
True, it's a good point. Hey, Tony, my guys need your help. Maybe. Oh, it's funny. I got asked who our dream interview would be.
Okay.
Right. Oh. And it's hard. That's a hard one.
For you guys, I mean,
because we talked to a lot of freaking people, right?
Yeah.
I actually ended up coming up with 2.
Okay.
And it's not Tony Bennett.
You're talking about like legitimately who we would want to
like there are 2 people I came up with because we won some award which I can't give away yet because it's
congratulations in advance.
Thank you. But the point is that they asked, who would be your dream interviews? And I came up with 2 off the top of my head. Let's see if Joe agrees with me. I said one of them is Herb Sendek.
Yep.
Because Herb will not freaking talk to Joe or me.
Yep.
All right.
I wonder why.
Weird. So weird.
When
right?
you talk to anyone.
What's that?
He won't talk to
No,
anyone.
he's gone. He's
Yeah.
Kaiser Thursday.
Yeah.
He's a myth. He's a whisperer, right? And the other is Michael Jordan, because I've actually never talked to Michael Jordan. Never talked to him.
I've talked to him one time, not in an interview setting, in an elevator in Spectrum Center, and I mean the aura, as the youths would say, was palpable.
So Final Four 2016 championship, and Jordan was in the building for the Villanova game, right? It was a big deal. I mean, it was the apotheosis of the Jordan meme, because the crying Jordan meme happened to Jordan that night.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And I was such a dork that I went down, because I was in the end zone. So I went down to the floor to come out of the tunnel where I knew Jordan was going to come out of at halftime, just so I could do a stupid selfie. Like, I'm not like getting a selfie with Jordan, but it's like, hey, Michael Jordan's my president.
He's here. Yep.
But I'll relay a story. One of my favorite stories of all time. You talk about that aura, Brendan. One of my all-time favorite stories that I don't mind hearing from Adam Gold, who's told me every one of his stories at least 5 times over. At least 5.
Only 5?
Only 5. Only 5. Love Adam. He knows this. When you've known somebody for 25 years, you're going to hear those stories all the time, right? But my favorite story, I forgot which event that it was, but he got in the elevator at some hotel, while there's like this coaches conference or something going on, right? I forgot which Final Four it was. But he gets in the elevator, and here comes Michael Jordan with Charles Oakley, right? Oh. Oakley basically tells Adam, "You're not riding in this elevator with us." And Adam's like, "Oh, okay." Like, what was he going to say to the Oak Man? No. He's going to tell the Oak Man no? Nah, he didn't tell the Oak Man no. He goes, okay, and he got out of the elevator. That's the aura of Michael Jordan, man. Like, you cannot be in the same elevator with this man, and he's got the body, man, to get you out of there.
So my only other Jordan experience was like tangentially through Rick Bonnell. And
R.I.P.
Covering Jordan. Rick had to have a relationship with Jordan.
Yeah.
So he had Jordan.
Context for the people who don't know who Rick Bonnell was. He passed away recently. He was the Bobcats / Hornets beat writer for the Charlotte Observer. You came out through the Charlotte long time.
He covered them when the team was born.
Yes. And you came through the Charlotte Observer, and so Bonnell had to have that relationship, right?
And so he had Jordan's number, and anytime there was news and obviously Michael was very involved in the day-to-day business operations. And so I forget if it was like Kemba signing his a Supermax contract extension, or maybe I think it was when they traded for Dwight Howard, and Rick got a tip, was going to track it down, and he said, "The GM's not answering me. I've got to use it." And I was like, "You've got to use what?" And he pulls up his phone and he shows me, and he had Jordan's contact listed in his phone as the bat phone. And I forget if it was 3 or 5 times, but Jordan basically told him, "You get 3 or 5 communicados with me, phone calls, texts, whatever, a year, in the purpose of doing your job. If you abuse it more than that, I'm blocking your number. We're done." But Jordan is an immediate responder.
Oh, interesting.
Immediate. Like, "Hey, Michael, I got this tip. Can you confirm?" "Yes. Here are the terms." Boom. Immediately.
Oh, wow.
So the bat phone, but I've never forgotten that. And, that with the elevator stuff, I think adds to the aura as well.
But that tracks, though, because Jeff Gravely, a longtime sportscaster, WREL, has an incredible story about Michael Jordan when he came back, when he was on his suspension, his baseball suspension, and the Birmingham Knights came through and they played the Mudcats. And the Barons. Thank you. And a lot of the footage that was used for The Last Dance about his baseball dalliance was Jeff Gravely stuff, because he had the wherewithal, as you like to say, Joe, just be around, man. So he's there with his camera because you don't know what's going to happen with Michael Jordan. I'll get some BP, but it is what it is. And Jordan remembered Jeff through Tom Suter during his time at Carolina. And that was the in. And Jordan, just trying to be like, whatever. He's like, "No, what do you need?" Like, in that moment, right? Again, it's that aura thing. You don't know what you're going to get. So that thing with Rick Bonnell saying, "Hey, man, I'm going to let you know. Here's the deal."
Right.
That tracks. That
absolutely
tracks. That
100%. 100%.
So yes. So that would be the tangent there.
Yes.
Oh, that would be the interviewer, because you can tell him, you can get him going on Roy. Roy would feed you all sorts of stuff, Joe.
Yeah, we would, but there would be just gambling and
Yeah.
whatever else we would be gambling.
You two would just go on and on and on about bad beats. I'm like, yeah, man, Michael, let me tell you about that time before it was legal here. I was driving up to Virginia, and let me tell you the tears I put into my Bowberry biscuit when I had that bad beat.
Do you think Jordan is more of a bad beat bemoaner or more of a look what I hit guy?
No. Jordan is what I wish I could be.
And that is,
I lost $25 million on the coin toss. I lost.
Joe, I figure you got that kind of money. Who says you can't be that guy?
Sometimes OG Media is doing okay, but we're not quite there yet, man. All right, Brendan, we appreciate the time as always. I'll see you tonight at camera, man.
Yes,
I'll see you later.
Will. Talk to you guys.
Big thanks to O2fitnessclubs.com. With O2 Fitness, you understand it is more than just a gym.
O2 Fitness, so much more than a gym.
We're talking about holiday eating coming out of Thanksgiving. You want to make sure that you maintain the fact that you can fit into your pants. Well, one way to do that is to work out. Okay. And I get it. We talk about how it's more than just a gym, but you still need a good, convenient gym, Joe.
Yeah, locations matter. They got locations all across the triangle. If it ain't close, you ain't going. I can tell you that. And I know what's going to happen here in about a month. So they're going to take care of you too. One thing I've noticed, and maybe this is me not being, obviously, not being a super Jimmy person, right?
You're surprising me here.
Right? Yeah. The assortment of equipment.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
it's off the charts. It's tip top.
I'm walking in there and I'm going, wait a second. I guess I haven't been to a gym in a minute.
Dude,
here.
They got a rack of Theraguns too, man. You got to put that thing on your neck. You're good.
And also, it's not like, oh, I got to go wait for like this one bench. Nah,
you're good.
They got you covered. Seaboard is our location, but yeah, I've been blown away by what I've seen there. It's like, oh look, Joe, it's like a time machine. Meeting Brendan Fraser coming out of the time machine, and I'm like, oh wow, this is what it looks like at a gym in 2024.
Oh, how about that? And speaking of the holidays and all the eating, we get it. You go to parties, you are going to family gatherings, you need stuff that's delicious, you need stuff that's good. Maybe you need something at the last minute. That's where the butcher's market comes into play. You can go to the shops, you can get sides, you can get things you just have to stick in the oven. More importantly, if you're looking for a last minute holiday party for your office, please give the gift to the butcher's market.
Please tell your employees that you care about them. Go to thebutchersmarkets.com.
Also, if you care about your peace, that's where you go to Nature's Relief, hempstore.com. RELEAF, hempstore.com. Protect your peace.
PEACE.
Yes.
On earth.
Yes. And your own peace, your inner peace.
Yes.
Because you're going to be dealing with a lot of family. You're going to be dealing with a lot of stress of running all over the place to do a bunch of different things. You need to chill. Trust me. Nature's Relief has something there for you.
Sleep is important too.
Sleep is very important. Yeah. Absolutely. So go to naturesreliefhempstore.com. And maybe you're doing some traveling. Load up at the Breeze Through. Get your snacks. You're going to an event and you got to pick up some beer at the last minute or something like that. They got a beer cave for you. And not just, look, y'all know us. We're all about that high life,
beer flavored beer,
Rolling Rock, all the beer flavored beer. I mean, you got Rolling Rock in the fridge, right? But they have some elevated stuff too, including the Crowler station over at the arena location. So go check that out. breezethrough.com for more information. We thank them for being a corporate champion. Are you going to show up like Zeus in a bra for a holiday party?
No, I don't want to scare anyone.
Are we doing an OG holiday party this year?
The tailgate will.
Is that going to qualify for
serve as our holiday party? The OG tailgate, December 15th, 5:00 game. They're playing Columbus. Remind me, maybe you have Waddell's number.
I think so.
Yeah, that might be a super secret.
Maybe it's a Michael Jordan bat phone situation.
Sweet talk text.
I don't know.
I'm better at those.
All right, so we got a lot of college jobs. We reminds me a lot of Apple. No, we have a lot of college jobs beyond North Carolina, App State, and Charlotte. right?
Okay.
ECU, they elevated their guys, so here we go. But like Purdue is open, West Virginia. You want to be part of the irate conference? You go to West Virginia, right?
Are they going to hire Jimbo Fisher?
Somebody's going to hire Jimbo Fisher, and they're going to regret it. By the way, I saw
Yeah.
Jimbo Fisher was floated for North Carolina by somebody. That'd be hilarious.
No.
FIU is open. Central Florida is open because Gus Malzahn took off for Florida State to be their offensive coordinator.
Wow.
Tulsa's open. Central Michigan is open because Jim McElwain's he's spending more time with sharks. Going back out to sharkfish, allegedly, according to urban legend.
Weird that all of these G5 schools
The
are
G5 schools. That's the thing.
moving it along.
So a lot of West Virginia's not a G5 school, obviously. Purdue is not a G5 school, obviously. But the point is,
Purdue might as well be.
but that's the thing. Like when you're actually looking at the schools that are in the process of trying to hire right now, it keeps coming back to one of the talking points that we've hit this week when North Carolina moved on from Mac Brown. They're not competing with a lot of people.
Right.
So the question is going to be, do you get in on the hot assistant, the coordinator, like the Georgia defensive coordinator we talked about with Chip yesterday? Or, as we talked about with Andrew Jones on Monday from Tar Heel Illustrated, is there an actual head coach that would be willing to leave an SEC or a Big Ten school to come take that job? You know, as we joked about with Bomani, you called it on Saturday night after Carolina lost to NC State. Hey, maybe Ryan Day is getting the hell out of town because he can live comfortably winning 9 games at Carolina, not dealing with the Ohio State crap, right? So the more it comes into focus of what this looks like, you know, in terms of the coaching carousel, North Carolina is positioned to be the best job on the market. You can't say that a lot of years.
No.
You cannot say that a lot of years.
No.
But that's clearly what they are. As of now, they are the best job on the market.
I could see them going either way, established coach or assistant coach, but I know they're going young.
Fair enough.
And it's going to be a culture shock over there. It's going to be crazy.
Speaking of Ryan Day and Ohio State, Tom Brady was on with Colin Cowherd yesterday, and this is tough to come back from, man. You get roasted by Tom Brady. It's a tough one to come back from. So the setup here is that Colin Cowherd was asking the question to Tom Brady with like a 2-minute question setup to fill up time. I have thoughts on that, but the point is that Tom Brady was set up to be asked a question about what is Ohio State, right?
Okay.
You see the talent they have. You've seen them beat all these teams, but they play Michigan, and it's like, well, what are you? And that's something that Tom Brady sees done. And of course, Tom Brady found a way to insert himself, Michigan man.
If I looked at Ohio State's strengths and weaknesses, they have a great 7-on-7 team. They got guys they can throw the ball to. In the second half, they don't even target their best players. So to me, it's like, I may as well have been out there playing receiver for Ohio State. I can't run. I couldn't catch. But it doesn't matter if you don't throw me the ball, just like they didn't throw a lot of their best players the ball in the second half of that game. So whenever we got to big games, let's say the Super Bowl, you'd say there's 70 plays left in the game. In our season, the entire 6 months of work, 7 months of work is going to come down to 70 plays. What do we want those 70 plays to look like? And then you reverse engineer it. And you say, okay, we're going to want 40 passes and 30 runs. Well, what 40 passes do we want? We could design 150 of them if you want. Now, there's 110 of those that won't get called. So why don't we just dial it down and dial it back to only the specific ones where our best players are going to touch the ball, doing the best things that they do. And we're going to go out like that. If we lose, we lose. If we win, great. But we're not going to lose doing things that we don't do well. And I think that the coaches, Coach Belichick would always say, coaches lose games and players win games.
Yeah.
And he didn't mean to say that coaches are not valuable. Coaches need to put their players in a position to win. They do instruct you. They give you, this is the plan. It's up to the coach to clearly identify a plan every week about how you're going to win the game. We would come in on a Wednesday morning. I thought the best thing that Coach Belichick did, and there was a lot of them, was he would clearly define for offense, defense, and special teams, this is how we're going to win the game this week.
The problem here is, I know you got something to say about the Brady Belichick here, but the problem here is that Ryan Day did identify the way that he wanted to win. It just wasn't the right way to win.
I'm laughing. I made these same exact points, whatever day it was. Monday?
Yeah, it was Monday.
And I always catch myself. I listen to the show, so I catch myself sometimes like I always make that random tangent about Belichick.
Sure. Look at Tom Brady making random changes about Belichick.
Yeah,
they're boys now, by the way.
Belichick and Brady.
Yeah, total boys.
Why wouldn't they be?
Oh, I know. People always wanted to make this big, who gets the credit, all sort of stuff. Man, you win those amount of Super Bowls, I think you're going to be fine in the grand scheme of things. Major League Baseball. This was in this was Rob Manfred, Major League Baseball commissioner. He was on with John Orand, talking about the current state of things with Major League Baseball, television deals, future of the game, all that stuff. And he brought up the idea of, and something that apparently the owners are down with, the golden at bat. Are you familiar with the golden at bat?
I am. I mean,
so essentially, the golden at bat is you as a team, as a manager. You get one instance where you can put anyone you want at the plate. Out of order, doesn't matter. So for the sake of this conversation, you've got Aaron Judge. All right. And Aaron Judge is all right. He's not coming up in the order. Okay. Not nowhere near the order, but it's the bottom of the 10th. It's the ALCS, Joe. And you got to get out of this extra innings, man. You feel like you can win it. So you go, it's time to use my golden at bat. And you go look at Aaron Judge and you go, all right, man, go get me a dinger. And he goes out there and the pressure's insane. Well, apparently one of the instances that helped kind of spark this was the World Baseball Classic, where you got things like Mike Trout versus Shohei Ohtani, like these instant, like memorable, baked in at bats. And they're trying to do this as a way to create moments in Major League Baseball. I don't hate this.
Who was the person who was in charge of MTV in the 90s?
I forgot the guy's name, but I know you're going rock and jock here.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Just have 5-point plays and yeah, man, walks. Should be automatic to third base.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, come on, man.
No.
If you hit it to the outfield grass, that should be worth a run too.
No, that's not what this is. That's not what this is, though.
It's not.
No. What you're doing here is what you're doing here is what you're referencing with rock and jock is like the 25-point basket that would come down with the 2 minutes to go in the half, right?
Sure.
And you got to hit this crazy basket. I get that's kind of over the top, but this is creating situational moments. This is not automatically awarding more points.
Sure. But this is just like golf, where they were like, man, wouldn't it have been awesome if Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods ever got to be in the final pairing on Sunday? Well, yeah, maybe just fucking earn your way there onto the final pairing on Sunday. Like, this is not real life. The fact that I saw this come across my timeline, I thought it was fake.
No, it's real.
I thought it was straight up fake.
It is a real thing. It's a real thing.
I was just like,
we started the show talking about earning things. What are you talking about? Maybe we call it the Alabama at bat. Maybe that's what we call
more
it.
Appropriate,
right? No, golden at bat. No, that's the Nick Saban at bat. That's what it is. It's put them up there.
This is very college football-y. Major League Baseball.
No, I'm just saying.
Get out of here.
I am just saying.
We've got a lot to get to. Woo. It's a lightning round.
Lastly, in the lightning round, this is something that Dimitri and I are going to talk about on OG on Business coming out later this week. But Stephen A. Smith and ESPN, according to Andrew Marchant at The Athletic, they are discussing a contract extension in the neighborhood of 6 years, $120 million. So never forget that ESPN might not have money for you, Zach Lowe. Might not have money for you, Pablo Torre. Might not have money for you, Bomani Jones. But they certainly have money for Stephen A. Smith, who's all over the place. Smith told Marchand that reports of a deal being close are false. It's possible that $20 million annually would be the record for an ESPN on-air personality. It was always going to be more than Pat McAfee. I think we understood that. But here's my question. There's a report, or there's this idea that with this amount of money that they're throwing Stephen A. Smith's way, you're going to be seeing Stephen A. Smith in more things beyond the ESPN sphere. So I would ask you, if Stephen A. Smith is going to be in the Disney universe, would you rather see him in a Star Wars movie or a Marvel movie?
Marvel.
What would he be in Marvel? Would he be the bad guy Like, is he the mastermind behind something?
He would be Peter Parker's boss at the
Daily Bugle?
whatever the new media thing is.
Oh yeah. So instead of J. Jonah Jameson and whatever the Daily Bugle, which was kind of like a daily, like an InfoWars type thing in the alternate universe, maybe there's another alternate universe where Stephen A. Smith is the boss for Peter Parker at an ESPN venture.
Sure.
Talk about corporate synergy.
They're going to steal that.
That would be the way to go. That would be the way to go. Now, I think he's more Star Wars. He'd be more Emperor Palpatine, like somehow he has returned. But in this particular case, it's like somehow Stephen A. Smith has shown up in a Star Wars with no explanation.
Stephen A. Calrissian.
Ooh, I like that. What would this... Oh, man, the Star Wars universe of ESPN, like what are they breaking down? They breaking down pod racing? That's what I would want to see. You know? Like, Sebulba choked again. He got beat by a kid. I'm telling you right now, that's where Stephen A. Smith is heading. I'm telling you right now, man. Be prepared for Sebulba pod racing takes. It's gonna happen. Thanks to Hometown Realty. Check them out, myhtr.com. You can buy and sell with confidence. As we've been mentioning, the holidays can be a stress point for your home. You're hosting a lot of people. You got people in town. You need that extra guest bedroom. You don't want to put your in-laws on a air mattress. Maybe you do, but maybe you actually enjoy your in-laws and you want to make sure they're comfortable. You need a bigger house. You need new construction. That's where myhtr.com comes into play. My brother, without fail, called me yesterday. We were talking about Whitaker and Hamer and prenups and whatnot, and at around like 1 o'clock. 1 or 2 o'clock yesterday, I see my brother calling me. I'm like, I know what this is about. It's like, you really brought up the prenup thing, huh?
Okay.
I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's like, you didn't know? It's like, right, I had no idea. I'm like, right. That's why you contact Whitaker and Hamer. They can tell you these things or get you out of a traffic jam. So wh.lawyer, that's what it's all about. Speaking of jams, you don't want to be jammed up by mosquitoes. I know you're not thinking about mosquitoes with 20-degree weather, but trust me, it'll be warm before you know it. And you want to make sure that next spring and summer, you got things handled, whether it's a misting system, buy as you go, all that stuff. Bugsbite.com, you can bundle and save with Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority, because with Pest Authority, you got guys that are trying to come in the house. You don't want that. You definitely don't want that. They can handle the inside of your home. And of course, our friends at Home Field, check them out online, homefieldapparel.com. OG24 is the promo code. You can save 15% off your order. Get something for yourself. Get something for your loved one. There's a sports fan in your life that's absolutely going to love one of those bomber jackets. So head on over to homefieldapparel.com today and take advantage of those deals. All right, let's go to the OG Sports phone from a 336 number. This is a text. Screw Jim Phillips. Screw the ACC. Even if State wins tomorrow, they're going to be like 16-14 in conference to get a 9 seed in March. Chill out, guys. It's early.
Wait, why are we mad at Jim Phillips?
Oh, because of the ACC losing games in the ACC Big Ten Challenge.
Oh.
This is from another 336 number. What is goaltender interference? Maybe a better question. Why have a rule nobody seems to understand or knows how to properly adjudicate? Figure it out, Gary. Like I said earlier, and I stand by this, it's essentially the equivalent of what is a catch? What is a catch in the NFL?
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
All right, let's go to a 704 number. Actually, I know who this is.
Hey guys, it's Paul. Sorry I've been MIA for the last week or so. Been prepping for the arrival of my firstborn son. Very happy about that.
Hold up. Do we got to send another onesie?
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll send another onesie.
Yeah, I got 2.
All right, got another onesie.
And you know, my thoughts on NC State, Carolina. Congrats to State. You win your Super Bowl. You've done it for the last 4 years. Very proud of you. Way to go. I was gonna let it lie there, not have an opinion, but that motherfucker who called in smoking cigars in the stadium. That's a real big pet peeve of mine, especially smoking around. I assume there were plenty of kids around him secondhand smoke for kids. That's a huge no-no for me. So all I got to say to that motherfucker is keep the same energy next year when Carolina has a new coach, which is what Carolina fans wanted. So Carolina fans got what they wanted. While you're stuck in year 13 of Dave Doran, losing inexplicably to a 4-win Wake Forest team. Just keep the same energy, brother. Peace.
I tell you, this rivalry does not get national attention. I totally understand that, but it's our rivalry, and people get super, super hype about it. To the YouTube comments from JJ, I just enjoyed the Panthers looking like a real NFL team the last couple of weeks. Let's keep tanking with style. And then that's the way to do it. Tank with style, Joe. There's the two Roosters onesie. I love that. Let's see what else we got here. From TTC, what is the common denominator between SMU, Texas, and Oregon? All three have the highest NIL budget in their conference. I'm not quite sure that really works out. NIL doesn't always mean it's going to work out. From Brandon on YouTube, Joe, you are touching on the biggest issue with NC State football. The season begins with goals and expectations. More times than not, those goals are not achieved. At the end of the season, State beats UNC. The season is made. The goals are not achieved. They are forgotten until next season when the exact same thing happens all over again. NC State is the only program in the country that considers beating this horrible UNC football program a signature win. As long as that is the mindset, those goals will never be achieved. State is forever the university of at least will beat Carolina. Fair enough. Love the comment section. Great discussion with Andrew. This is from Andrew Jones from Monday. Many options. Need to focus on a coach that is reiterating defense and QB development with a dominant run game. I can see where that works out. Let's see what else we got here. From Brant. One post NC State win after dark when Giglio was telling NC State to act like they've been there before. They kind of were. Last time they won in Keenan, they planted the flag. I mean, that's a valid point. That's a valid point. And also from the YouTube comments, Bomani, this is from Vince. Bomani Jones is a flat out racist, and you continue to have him on your show. Wake up. Sundrop Avi really sells that for me. He also followed up with this is a great show with Chip and Bomani. Bring those guys on more often. Maybe it was Ovies and the 124 proof medicine, whatever it was. Nice 90 minutes. Vince didn't see it that way. You must like a racist. Come on, y'all. Come on. Elijah Craig, extremely reliable. Hashtag Cooper Flag. Thank you, AT. Get those SEO numbers up, baby. From Blind Lemon Jello, no, Ovies, you are wrong. That was someone getting hurt in the game. He's referring to the Tyler Hansborough, Gerald Henderson thing. Intentional or not, planting a flag or taking a strip of your stadium turf, that's an act outside of the game. Those are not the same. Yes, people ate that up because it speaks to the intensity of the game, not just violence. I don't want to see the players fight. I like my players healthy, not hurt or suspended. Available is the most important aspect of any player on your team. Now, I get where you're coming from on that. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm getting at is once cooler heads prevail, you notice how these incidents, in the moment, everybody's all wrapped up in it, clutching pearls. But once we're done with it and people kind of cool off, they go to their corners, you notice how it just becomes part of the lore.
Right.
That's my only point with that. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up. We will see y'all tomorrow from Fayetteville.